So Rich or Richard, I don't know.
Rich. I've never been called Richard, but for some reason some people insist on calling me Richard.
Yeah,
and I slap them hard across the chop. I don't know why I don't like it. This sounds very regal or something.
Well, it does a little bit, but I didn't know because I think on my email it came up Richard or something.
Richard's one of those names. There's so many different things you can call yourself. You could call yourself Dick. You're never going to call yourself Dick, but you could. You could be Rick. And they're all awful. The best one, I thought, was Rich, of a bad bunch.
I think you have to be. Yeah. But then I think it's fine.
There's not a lot I can do with that. I don't like it enough to change it. Yeah. That would involve a lot of rethinking, a lot of effort, and
also to your parents, it's like. Yeah, you've really got it wrong.
They were going to call me Lee. So in fact, I'd rather Rich than Lee. I don't know why. Lee. I don't know. No.
Who knows? Well, you're here. I mean, because your show sounds really good. One Rogue Reporter, is that what it's called?
One Rogue Reporter, or as it was called earlier on today by someone, One Rouge Reporter.
Because are you rude, innit?
No, one rouge as in like the French for red, and I was like, no, nearly. All the letters are there, but
right, but because you were a journalist at the Mail, and then
I did work at the Mail on Sunday for a bit. The place where I resigned from was a Daily Star.
Yeah.
So a bit higher end than the Mail.
Indeed. You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, much below the So, but when did you give up the Daily Star?
I resigned very publicly, leaking my resignation letter to the Guardian about 18 months ago, and it caused a bit of a shitstorm, which I really didn't expect. And from there, I guess I started being asked to do sort of interviews about tabloid press, and I started doing some lecturing and talks in pubs and things like that, and it just sort of steamrolled from there really, and I just thought, you know what, I can pull this all together and do an Edinburgh show. And so it's a mix of sort of, I don't want to call myself a comedian because I'm not a comedian, and I don't really deserve to give myself the title because I'm doing a show. I think you need to sort of earn that.
You need to graft,
yeah, exactly. So it's a comedy show, but it's me telling my story, and amongst that, a video I've been shooting over the last sort of 4 months where I've sort of gone and turned the tables on tabloid editors, and I've sort of doorstepped them and invaded their privacy.
See how they like it.
And to see how they like it, yeah. That's been a lot of fun.
So is it kind of a mission for you now? This sort of, since your resignation, you're kind of trying to publicly, in whatever way you can, raise awareness of what they're doing?
There is a degree of sort of me sitting there and thinking, how can I approach this issue in a slightly different way? I've said my piece and sort of this formal on the TV news sort of thing. How can I approach it? Because it's a very serious issue about press in this country and democracy and but there's a lot of comedy within that. There's a lot of, watching the Leveson inquiry, there's a lot of comedy there. And I just thought,
you saw potential.
Well, I remember sort of Paul Dacre did it for the Mail saying, journalism is about puncturing the pomposity of the powerful. And that phrase stuck me, because I went, there is no one more pompous or powerful than you. I'm going for you. And I just went, I'm going for Paul Dacre. And it's sort of like, during my career, these are the sort of people you're petrified of, absolutely petrified of them, because they can just ruin you in a moment. And then you're outside the industry, and you're like, actually, he's a 63-year-old bloke. What's he going to do? Is he going to not hire me? I'm really, you know what I mean? It's like, nothing can happen. Is he going to write an article in the Daily Mail about me? I'm like, brilliant, excellent. You actually find yourself just going, it's a mirage, the power. If you've got something to lose, then maybe they're powerful. But when you're like me with absolutely nothing to lose, there's absolutely no power, I don't know who that reflects worse on, the state of my existence, or
they can say whatever they want.
Say whatever they want. I've got nothing. Which is the other reason, is that there's some stuff that potentially is very libelous. But sitting down with the lawyers, they basically said to me, well, what assets do you own? If you got sued, what would you lose? What would you lose? And I said, I haven't got anything. I said, you got a car? No. Do you own a house? No. I got debt. And it kind of came down to the fact that, actually what would happen is your debt would just get wiped out. So I was like, well, they'd just clear my overdraft. And they were like, basically, yeah. So I literally, was like, they would sue me, do me a favour.
This is you looking to be sued?
Well, I think there's an element. Well, that is something that I discuss in the show. I talk about the fact that, please, someone sue me. Please, because I'm skint. I need to get sued.
But, I mean, people ask, is this where it came from? People are asking you about your experiences in it, and, you're being asked to do talks and stuff, and that's why you're here now, just through kind of demand almost?
Well, yeah, probably quite starkly as that. It's I've been doing for the last 18 months quite a lot of comedy writing. And I've got a sitcom about tabloid journalists, which has been optioned by Hat-Trick and sort of working its way around. You know how these things are. It may never see a light of day. Maybe it'll take. Who knows? But sort of just doing comedy writing, and I found that it's something that I really, really enjoyed. And I thought, I really want to pursue this, as sort of a career. And I thought, well, I think these days it's useful to be able to be multifaceted. It's sort of like just saying, I write a bit of comedy, but I think on top of that, it's going, well, I've got to put myself out of my comfort zone and try and put on a show. And it's a challenge. I'm not a performer. I've never. This is, I think, today will be the 7th time I've ever stood in front of a stage and done this show.
So you weren't an actor at school?
No, I was
or
nothing. I was
Amdram?
never a thespian of any sort of, there was interviewed a few lesbians at the Daily Star. But that's slightly different. Nikki from Southend. And,
or did you have a veil? Did they make you dress in a veil?
No, not even a veil, a full burqa.
A full burqa, right?
Yeah, that's a story that we deal with in the show. It's the time that I went out dressed in a full burqa.
That's a
awful, properly awful thing to do. And there is part of the show which is sort of catharsis for me, and I feel awful about some of the things that I did, and there is this sort of element in the show of me sort of trying to wrestle with why I did those things, because it's all right sort of leaving after sort of going, I've had enough, but you can't escape the fact that most people wouldn't have got themselves in the situation in the first place. You know what I mean? They'd have said no off the bat, and I didn't, and that certainly to this day it sort of it raises questions to me about my own character, who I am, that I allowed myself to go down that route, just really because I needed the job. I think a lot of people can relate to that in their own way, is that we've all done a job that we don't like and we're not happy with. Now, not all of them are as dramatic as quite my job, where you're wandering around in a burqa, but I think most people can relate to that idea of you're kind of unhappy at work, but it's your job, you need the money, you've got to pay your rent, what are you going to do? And my sort of solution to that was nothing for a long time, until it got to the point where I snapped, and I went down in a blaze of glory, I suppose. But I call it glory. Some people call it stupidity. I don't know.
So you're at a point where you're happy with it now in yourself. You've kind of addressed those issues of why you've done them, or is it ongoing?
It's it's. I've had a couple of hecklers so far who've been quite sort of like, why did you take the job in the first place? And the first time it threw me. It was kind of like, but I didn't expect this. So
you're supposed to listen.
I had to sort of deal with it. And this was the producer afterwards was like, well, that's a little baptism of fire for you. You need to deal with hecklers. So it's quite interesting seeing other comics and seeing how they deal with hecklers. I like to think that I've balanced it enough that people get enough of an idea of why I did certain things. But by no means is the show self-glorification for me. I mean, if anyone comes off the worst, it's me. And I think that's the only way to do it, really. I think that you have to sort of destroy yourself before you can start sort of discussing the issues, because no one wants to be preached upon by an ex-Daily Star reporter about press ethics. No one wants that. Not even going to pay for that. You couldn't pay me to go and see that. So, I think the first bit of the show is really me sort of showing what a useless, crap journalist I was. And then sort of by the end, I think I earned the right to make a few points about the way we should go forward.
But you've got to address it first, like you say.
Yeah, exactly. But I suppose for the audience to judge whether I do that right or not. There we go.
But are you do you see yourself doing other things in the future, or are you going to...
Well, the show's been doing really well, and it's sold out quite a few nights, so there's already sort of discussion taking it on tour, and this is my first ever Edinburgh, and the day I arrived, I just went, fuck, why have I not done this before?
Yeah.
Why? This is awesome. And I can't imagine that I won't, come the end of this, be going, right, I need to do another show. But the problem is that my show is very specific about something I know a lot about. It's my world. Like, if I go, right, I'm going to do a show next year about me and zoos, you know what I mean? It'd be like...
It just won't fit.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it would work, but I can just imagine the reviewers being, not bad show last year when he was talking about media, but now he's looking at pandas. It just doesn't quite work.
Slightly different, yeah.
Exactly. I'm not coming from a position where I'm sort of got that knowledge, I suppose, that people go, oh, well, he's worth listening to about. No one's going to go, he's worth listening. Ex-ASR reporter worth listening to about pandas. Definitely, he must know a lot about pandas, that man. So,
well, I look forward to it. Just plug your show. It's in the
Pleasance Courtyard. It's 5 p.m. every day except the 14th. It's in the kids zone, funny enough. It's like in the kids zone. I'm the first adult show after the kids show, so it's kind of weird. It's like nappy changing facilities attached to my venue. Odd, very bizarre.
Strange, different experience.
Very exactly. And certainly this is not a kids show, so I do have them sort of peeking in through the tent at times. It's kind of odd.
Oh God, and you just...
I'm like...
card them away.
Go away. There's going to be penises in this in a minute. Live penis. Not live, but no. Filmed penises. I promise, because the live penis would have to be my penis, wouldn't it? And we don't see my penis.
Okay.
Yes, I'm particularly drunk.
Good to set that straight. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thanks very much.
Thank you.